All right, thanks. Hi, hello everyone. Thank you for joining this online session of COP20. Welcome. My name is Mira. I am with ClimateKick and I will be your moderator today. ClimateKick is organizing this session in collaboration with Build for People. And I think there should be a slide now. Thanks. So as you can see on the slide, the session today is called What We Can Learn from Slovenia, the role of construction industry in national circular economies, challenges and opportunities. So I think this it should be the second slide, the one with all the logos now. Yes. Next one. No, doesn't really matter. We actually were going to show the organizations who are contributing to today's session on the screen. Should be the slide after this one. If it's not there, okay, never mind. I will just talk on this one slide on the screen. So ClimateKit is Europe's leading climate innovation agency and community. Together with partners across the globe, we orchestrate large-scale demonstrations that show what is possible when innovation and learning are designed to shift mindsets and behaviors and enable decision makers and investors to act. One of ClimateKick's deep demonstrations is supporting systems innovation and creating a portfolio of intervention that will serve as a vehicle to drive Slovenia's national transformation to a circular economy. Build for People is co-organizing this session for us, and it's a co-program partnership in EU research and innovation funding for the built environment. The Build for People partners bring together the whole value chain to accelerate people-centric innovation for a sustainable built environment. Within the context of this partnership, a strategic research and innovation agenda for the next few years has been developed that determines the topics in which EU funds will be invested. So I think the speakers can switch on their cameras if they want now. So we are more people on screen. In the meantime, I will tell you that it is largely recognized, as you know, that circular economy practices and principles must be implemented in the construction industry to reduce the use of resources and boost the well-being of citizens. In Europe, some regions have already adapted and are developing good practices for the circular economy in the construction sectors, while other regions are taking their first steps in this direction. We learned that the construction sector is a very hard to adapt industry for the circular economy. There are common challenges within the European region, especially, that need to be addressed in order to enhance this transition. And Slovenia today will be presented as a case study in order to learn about how some of these challenges can be addressed. So which ones they are, how they can be addressed, and possible solutions, which we can scale up at European scale. So we will hear two short presentations, then we will continue with a panel interview, and we will end with a Q&A to engage you, our audience, and then we will summarize key points and closing remarks. So let me introduce you, our first speaker, Jasmina Karba. Jasmina has been working for the Slovenian Ministry of the Environment for more than 20 years. Lately, she has been focusing her efforts on mainstreaming environmental and climate goals to all relevant policies. So this is a very holistic approach, and it's a key systemic lever of change, which we expect will have a very powerful impact. In addition, Jasmina is a passionate cyclist. Jasmina will present Slovenia and circular economy ambitions and achievement. I will already introduce our second speaker now, who is Jure Vercek, head of the Department of Efficiency and Built Environment at the Institute for Innovation and Development of the University of Ljubljana. Hi, Jurek. Jurek. Jurek is driving decarbonization of the EU building stock by enhancing a consumer-centered and locally based circular renovation process. So it's no surprise that they call him the humanistic engineer. Very inspiring um, approach, in my opinion. Jurek's presentation is called Construction and Circularity Learnings from the Ground. All right, without further ado, Yasmina, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mira. Thank you very much. Good day, ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues. Greetings from Ljubljana. Thank you, Mira, for your kind introduction. So really, I'm Jasmina Karba, and I work for the Slovenian Ministry of the Environment and Climate and Energy. And I'm part of the management team, which is steering the Deep Demonstration Slovenia project. This is also going to be the focus of my intervention today. Next slide, please. So I'm actually quite delighted to have been given the opportunity to talk to you on the learnings that my country has gained so far from the realization of this dedicated project, which is being realized in partnership with EIT Climate Kick, and is rather ambitiously focusing on decarbonizing Slovenia through the model of systemic transition, concretely by the application of the deep demonstration methodology. I shall actually, in the first part of my intervention, focus more on the model itself and then combine this model and what we have learned out of it with the challenges and opportunities of sustainable transformation of construction industry. Now, but looking at the big picture, what we see that Slovenia has, like many other countries, set its climate-related goals in strategic documents, and these goals relate to traditionally CO2 emissions, share of renewable energies, material productivity, ecological footprint, and so on. But now, please, next slide. But in real life, however, these ambitious goals meet the reality of the way we operate. What do I mean with this? I mean to say that in general, we work in silos, that we witness changes in administration settings that affect setting of priorities, that we tend to focus more on short-term challenges at the expense of long-term goals. Furthermore, that we face a variety of challenges, and these are seen in isolated manner, and which in fact they are not, they are very much connected. And finally, we face that it is so very difficult to step out of our comfort zone. Next slide, please. Aha. Next. And next. And now next slide. Thank you. Now, but for this radical transformation to happen, what we really need to do is we need to act faster, and we need to act more efficiently. So Slovenia has engaged with Climate Kick to apply innovative methods based on system thinking approach to support reaching these goals that I have mentioned before. And concretely, in our project, we apply this deep demonstration methodology, which has actually been developed by Climate Kick. And we focus on circular and sustainable transition of key value chains and supporting systems. Next slide, please. Now, what are actually the goals of the project? We aim at many things, but above all, we aim at establishing a frame of reference for circular economy portfolio. Then we aim at supporting the decarbonization of key value chains. And we aim at searching for new systemic solutions in entrepreneurship, education, policy, and finance. And how do we wish to do this? Through cross-sectoral collaboration by engaging wider range of stakeholders, but above all by extracting, connecting, and upgrading smartly learnings and intelligence from local stakeholders. Next one, please. And please skip this one if needed for later. Okay, next one. Right, thank you. Now, what is the underlying methodology? What is the theory behind this deep demonstration? It is about seeing all elements in the system and really deciding on areas where we would like to innovate. That is to say, where we would like to search for systemic interventions. And how do we do it? By mapping all available knowledge and intelligence, and then linking and upgrading this smartly to reimagine solutions in the so-called portfolio approach. But in practice, and next slide, please. In practice, however, we need a structured approach to avoid getting lost in this holistic and systemic decarbonizing universe. So the structure of the project is following. So we focus on 5 value chains with highest decarbonization potential, and these are built environment, food, forest, wood, mobility, and manufacturing value chain. And then we focus on 5 supporting pillars or systems, which need to transform as well to be able to support the transformation of value chains. And these supporting pillars are policy, education, entrepreneurship, finance. And then there is this pillar of capacity development, so crucial, which we actually which is actually happening as we go by, so through learning by doing. Next slide, please. And I'm happy that today, as a concrete outcome of this project, I can share with you a portfolio of systemic interventions for the built environment value chain. This portfolio consists of 9 groups of interventions with measures which focus on improving the supporting ecosystem for construction industry and industry of construction materials, then on establishing a secondary materials platform, then on education and lifelong learning system, which would underpin sustainable construction and renovation of buildings. Then there is measures on green public procurement, which should support bio-based and secondary materials markets. Then there is a group of measures on the promotion of wood and cellulose as renovation materials. Furthermore, there is measures focusing on dismantling of buildings, which should be done in a way to support circulation of secondary materials. Then there is measures for the mainstreaming of digital solutions in construction system. Then there is measures that relate to spatial planning, and there is measures for dedicated support to public and private investors. And finally, there is measures which focus on financial viability of sustainable and circular construction and renovation. Now, next one, please. And this is my last one. I'm slowly finalizing my intervention today. Now, colleagues, I would not like to sound as a moaning person, but you might have sensed that realization of such a project is not an easy task. I mean, changing the way we work and changing our behavioral patterns is really very difficult. I mean, myself, I'm a civil engineer, but even me somehow sense that this societal component of sustainability, this is really a very difficult task. So I think that we need ambassadors to promote these new ways of thinking and working, and these ambassadors. So the task of these ambassadors require people who are open, who are curious, who are willing to learn, but people who also have this mainstreaming power. And such ambassadors, I think, are also needed for the transformation of construction sector. I mean, we would all like that the construction sector would build and renovate in a way that buildings perform sustainably from design to end of life. And this includes energy efficiency and material efficiency and well-being and healthy and safety issues and so there is lots of everything where the design needs to pay attention to. But I mean, such construction and renovation will only happen, I think, if public and private investors require such design and construction. So clear and long-term rules need to be introduced for this to happen. First, that these I mean, long term in a way that these allow construction industry enough time to transform in their business models, in gaining capacity for such operation, but then also the other side to create conditions for such operation. I mean, conditions that will support the industry to build and to design and build sustainable buildings. And this condition and among these conditions, I mainly think of better circularity of materials from waste, of better circularity of refurbished materials, of rules for the application of secondary construction materials from safety and health aspects, then on the production of construction materials from secondary bio-based materials or materials with low carbon footprint, then on working secondary construction materials markets, then on sustainable pricing policies for primary raw materials. But above all, and once again, I really think that public and private investors are key. It is actually them that need to require sustainable construction and renovation. And here, looking at my side, public investors need to act as role models. So bottom line, clear, concrete, long-term signals from decision makers and feasible rules accompanying them is what is needed in practice. And this is also what we hear in our everyday discussion with architects, civil engineers, builders, and industry of construction materials. And with this, Mira, I would like to conclude my intervention today. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Yasmina. That was truly inspiring and a truly beautiful holistic approach across the bigger vision and some really practical aspects that I think we all immensely appreciated you going into. And so everyone, there is a lot of opportunities to go deeper in several of Jasmina's points. So do use this Lido to comment, not just ask questions, but also comments and thoughts on what Jasmina just presented. It is a huge opportunity for us to be here and have such an experienced panel with us. So let's make the best of it. Next up is Jure. So floor is yours.
Thank you for introduction. Also, I'm honored to be here. I come from the Institute for Innovation and Development, University of Ljubljana. I have some slides. Yes, perfect. I was asked to give some learnings from the ground, so I'll go very practical into some, let's say, details or small projects that can be extrapolated. At our institute, we work in even transdisciplinary approaches. We deploy people-centered development methodology, and we try to bring together all the sectors. I'm one of the stakeholders Yasmina mentioned earlier. So we are bringing together sectors and disciplines to address today's challenges we more or less know. So next slide, please. For the context in Slovenia, we have more than 2/3 of building stock are single-family houses. The settlement pattern is very dispersed, so which is on one side good for the sustainability, because we have also like 2/3 of forest, but on the other side, it's not very good for the logistics part. What is specific, let's say, for the south of the Europe is a very lively self-building culture on one side. So people are handymans, they can do stuff by themselves. And on the other side, we are one of the most industrialized countries in EU or worldwide. So we have strong industrial basics. And what is also typical for the south, we have very high private ownership share. This creates some challenges, especially in multifamily buildings, where we have mixed ownership, also mixed use. So our main issues for multifamily buildings are how to organize this, how to bring people together. Also, one of the relevant stuff for the context and for whole Europe is that we have a lot of empty apartments and too big houses. So next slide, please. To go very practical, this is one of the Horizon 2020 EU-funded projects we are finalizing now. Here we introduced circularity in building retrofits, because if you want to retrofit almost all buildings till 2050, we don't have enough materials. So we combined do-it-yourself practices investors do. This is one of the 3 houses in Slovenia that we showed next. But we had 7 countries from the north in Estonia doing prefabricated multifamily buildings renovation to cultural protected buildings in Italy. So in all these different circumstances, we showed how to do actual material circularity. In our case, this was rock mineral wool. The old one was taken back and recycled, and also aerated concrete. So these are pictures from the industrial sites and also from the construction site. And the next one, please. We deployed digital technologies from 3D scans to make a model, or let's say also BIM model. Some prefabricated panels were introduced. We're doing all this also in part of some other European Horizon projects called Infinite, where we are doing a multifamily building retrofit with prefabricated wooden panels that include also ventilation, heating, green walls, and energy production. This is a small building, how it looks on the end, but we have to keep in mind that even for this small building, it was also reconstruction and energy retrofit. There were hundreds of tons of materials moved. That means embedded energy and logistics challenges. Next slide, please. So to sum up what we are doing for 5 years or more in 5 minutes, if we actually want to deploy circularity of materials and low embedded energy, we need to include people. People need to be engaged. That's why we use we have a department that's doing practical anthropological research. So we use anthropologists and sociologists. We combine together social science and humanities and technical or natural sciences disciplines. When thinking about circularity of our built environment, we have at least 3 levels. Material level circularity, what we showed in our demo cases. We have components levels, like heat pumps, furnaces, windows, and we have system level circularity. So we need to think about all of them and deploy those that are most meaningful in our context. I cannot stress too much is that the circularity is always a local business. It depends on the local actors and local value chains and local capacities. In our context, we showed that it's possible to combine do-it-yourself practices and this self-building culture we have. So people have tools, methodologies, they know people who can do stuff, and this can work together with high-level industrial approach. In our and other contexts, bio-based materials are a must, because this is the only those grow based on the solar energy, and everything else is not sustainable. So, and of course, concerning the energy, we need to be 100% on renewable energy sources, as we showed also in our demo cases. So this is it for now, and I'm looking forward to the debate. The last slide, please.
Thanks, Jure. That was a great counterbalance to the policy side. As we always strive to do in Climate Kick, we must look at the systemic level, so the value chain of levers and actors, in order to create a realistic change in the system. So this was a little example of the way we cooperate across stakeholders. And the type of conversations we should be having. The panel discussion will focus around 5 challenges towards the circular economy in construction in the Central European region. I think my colleague has posted those in the audience chat, so you should be able to follow in the chat while I present them on screen. As in while I present them verbally, because we don't have a slide showing them, but you can follow in the chat. You should be able to. Challenge number one is that there are common goals and policies for the circular economy in the construction sector, especially, but the implementation practices vary. So, how do these goals and policies translate on the ground? We don't have a common approach for that. This is a challenge. It could also be an opportunity, of course. The second challenge is green public procurement and green procurement in general, of course, as a lever for accelerating investment. The third challenge is how can we mainstream the use of secondary raw materials and nature-based solutions, which are very key to the transition to circular economy. The fourth challenge is digitalization, which is crucial for the circular economy in general and in the construction sector especially, and digitalization in several areas in Europe, especially towards this purpose, is slow or lacking and must be accelerated quickly. And finally, fifth challenge, how can we prepare and educate the vast numbers of skilled workers and professionals for the circular economy in the construction sector? So take a big breath. This is a lot, but the important part is that we know where to start. And as Jasmina and Nura have presented, we already have some promising approaches that could be scaled up. All right, before starting the panel discussion, I will introduce our third speaker, our third panelist, Dr. Anastasia Jurčišna, who's the project officer of the European Construction Built Environment and Energy Efficient Building Technology Platform. We're very, very happy to have Anastasia with us, and she can say now a few words on Built for People and the relevance to the challenges we just mentioned.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for inviting me to represent Build for People partnership in this session, and thank you, Mira, for the introduction. So indeed, I'm going to very briefly tell you a couple of words about Build for People partnership, which is a co-program public-private partnership in Horizon Europe Cluster 5. And the partnership is running for 7 years from 21 to 27. It accelerates about 380 million of European funded budget, and indeed focuses very much on all the projects related to the built environment. So the Build for People partnership brings together the whole value chain. As mentioned by Yasmina, which is super important to have the whole value chain in order to accelerate people-centered innovation for a sustainable built environment. And the partnership aims to catalyze the transition to the built environment, which is people-centric, which is climate neutral, which is sustainable, and of course, which is smart. And by speaking about the built environment, we refer to all types of buildings and housing assets, but much more than this. We do refer to infrastructures in its broad inception, which will include, but it's not limited to, district heating, the energy infrastructure, water supply, sanitation, defense from floods, different transport infrastructures, and so on. Like, the list is very vast and very complex. I would also say that the Build for People partnership has a partnership board, which is in fact the main forum for dialogue and steering of the partnership activities. And it does consist of representatives from the European Commission as the public side, and from private side, the two organizations that run Build for People partnership, which is us, the European Construction and Technology Platform, and the World Green Building Council. And in the scope of this panel, I'm really happy to let you know that the partnership board, which is right now in renewal because it's renewed each and every year. The new partnership board of Build for People Partnership will have the representatives of Slovenia. From the side of ECTP, it will be the construction cluster of Slovenia, and from the side of World Green Building Council, it's the Green Building Council of Slovenia. So it's pretty well positioned in the scope of this panel. In order to position us in the context of our panel, I'll probably just quote 3 general objectives of Build for People Partnership, which are really transversal to cover all these challenges we mentioned today. So the general objectives are a scientific objective, which is to generate innovation towards sustainability, which is holistic. It is the economic objective, which resides in revitalizing the sector through decarbonization and sustainability transition, and the societal part of it, which is focused on inducing lasting behavioral change towards sustainable living. And to be more concrete about it, these general objectives are specified and addressed in different aspects of the challenges, and they're specified in 7 specific objectives. This is to develop holistic solution in systemic approach. By doing it, we demonstrate the overall performance in the life cycle perspective. Obviously, it's quite important to demonstrate the clean energy transition, and not only as it is today, but also its potential. The 4th specific objective focuses on the demonstration of the pathway for decarbonization of the sector. The 5th one is, again, demonstration of sustainable circular business and value chain, which is like probably one of the red points of today's discussion. The 6th one is to demonstrate the affordability and cost effectiveness. And finally, the last but not the least, is to do all this by showing by allowing no trade-offs on economy, on comfort, on health, on functions, on cultural heritage, and everything which makes us rich as the humankind. Probably these objectives and the activities of Build for People Partnership, probably they really can be seen as very transversal by addressing all the challenges we're discussing today, but in particular by doing it in this very people-centric, very sustainable, and what's important, lasting approach. We don't do it only for today, we do it for today going into tomorrow, creating future together. I will stop here to give a couple of more words to the questions.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Anastasia. I really liked your use of the word transversal to describe the challenge we're facing. So we're faced with a rather technical challenge, transitioning to the circular economy in the construction sector, but it's a challenge that requires, as we have found out, a very humanistic approach and a very transversal approach. So it goes well beyond the technical aspects. Okay, so if everyone who's participating to the panel can switch on their cameras, I would say, then here we go. We're all together on screen. Let's see who would like to go first around the 5 challenges we have identified, summarizing again: goals and policies, green public procurement, the use of secondary raw materials, digitalization, and education and reskilling of workers and professionals. I would just say, perhaps let's start with Yasmina on anything you would like to touch upon and in these 5 challenges. Thanks.
Well, thank you, Mira, very much. Well, actually, I could speak on. I like to talk, as you might have noticed. So I could speak on each and every challenge, but let me focus on the green public procurement, because I think that this is really an immensely powerful tool for promoting sustainable construction and renovation in public sector. But then, when this public sector is providing some real good cases of such construction and can be really seen as a role model, then this will also somehow make it easier for the private investors, who I must say in Slovenia are also not lagging behind in being aware of the necessity to ensure this sustainable performance of buildings. But still, this green public procurement is still seen not only for the construction sector and for the sustainable buildings, but in general as a very powerful tool. But what we see in Slovenian case is that we have a regulation. So green public procurement is mandatory for specific type of products. And we see that that these rules to be mandatory needs to be introduced very carefully by really ensuring also that the market can follow these rules, and that there are producers which put products on the market that can fulfill the green public procurement criteria.
Would any of the other panelists respond to that?
Maybe I can make a short, let's say, introduction and some interventions focusing not one specific, but maybe wider. What was stressed earlier, yes, we need rules, because there's often a debate that there is a free market. There's no free market. There are rules set by governments. On one side, and also we talk a lot about people-centered. It's one of the methodologies we use. But now I think we need to move to the planet-centered, because we're in climate crisis. We're also here at COP trying to do something about this. On one side, we talk about economical and financial viability and so on. And the difference is economic, in theory, should take into account all the externalities. Because this is not in place, we still have subsidies for fossil fuels, for example. So what I try to stress, governments need to set clear rules. When talking about circularity, it's always local capacities we have. If we look back in time, everything was circular. 100 years ago, when you made a new building, you took the old rocks and made the new one, because there was scarcity. Now we have, or in some parts of the world, we have too much, and we need regulation because market itself won't regulate. This is on the base of secondary raw materials. On the digitalization, yes, we need it. It needs to be meaningful. Often there's digitalization taking place only because of digitalization. So we see in reality that in some simpler construction sites, people are still on paper. They are not even in CAD, but now we want to take them BIM and so on. So we need to work a lot on the competences, knowledge. Otherwise, we won't be able to make these changes fast enough, because we have, let's say, 15, 20 years only. And we cannot wait for people that are in school at the moment to come and change, because those who are in, let's say, active part of our life need to do the changes. Thank you.
Right, so there seems to be an agreement on the need for rules and the rules of procurement. In this sense, there is an interesting question in the slide. Someone, Mr. Luka Cinkovic, I really hope I am pronouncing this right. I'm sorry, my nationality is Italian. I have no idea how to pronounce Eastern European names. Luca says we mentioned financing, and what is the reason, the main reason, in our opinion, private investors are reluctant to invest into sustainable construction. So this brings me back to what Jasmina said, that public procurement can set an important reference for the private sector to follow. So given this, what do we think is the main reason private investors are reluctant to invest if they have a good example from public procurement to follow?
Would you like me to right? Yeah. Well. I don't think that there is at the moment lots of good practice and experience available from public procurers, from public investors. What is hindering, what is stopping the private investors? This is what we hear from really going into deeply sustainable construction and design. Is actually it's two things. It's first is lack of competence, I think, and the second thing is that everybody thinks that this will make the buildings more expensive. I mean, it might be that the design and the building itself would be at the moment, at the current state of taxes and pricing policies, that it might be more expensive. But looking at the whole life cycle of a building, and if this building is maintained in a way in a way to also function as a sustainable unit, then I think that financial viability of a sustainable construction is there. But of course, the private investors, they stop their assignment with giving a product, so a building to the buyer, and then for them the business is closed. So they do not care about the whole life cycle of a building. And here I think is a challenge. So again, I'm sorry to be so somehow stiff, but I think that really rules again, and clear signals are needed from the decision makers. This is the way we are going, even though if it might cost a bit more at the beginning.
Yes, so taking the long-term view and educating and learning new approaches, taking the long-term view, these are all things that can support investment. On the other hand, there's a question that resonated in this lead, which is how does the program engage with various stakeholders, including businesses and local communities, to ensure a collaborative approach to circularity in construction? So how do we engage both businesses and the local communities, the citizens, the people who are living there? It might be an interesting question for Anastasia. I would be curious to hear her opinion on this.
Yeah, thank you. Let me just very quickly comment on Yasmina's answer previously about the reluctance of private investments. I would just make a parallel with the technology readiness level, if I may. We're still in the first stages of development of circular economy. Well, not very first, but still not mature yet. So the more the lower technology readiness level is, the more financing it requires, and the longer it takes to see the results of it. And coming back to the question about the engagement of different stakeholders from private, public side, businesses, NGOs, and like local communities, I can reply on the how it's done in our partnership. So. The partnership is particularly interested in engaging all type of stakeholders in different dialogues, forums. We regularly have the stakeholder forum where everyone is invited to gather together and to exchange ideas about different aspects of the development in the built environment. The partnership board itself is quite representative with different type of players. So we have rather good representation of big industry players, of small and medium enterprises who represent the biggest amounts in the construction center, which is like very fragmented. So that is why it is crucial to hear the voices of small and medium enterprises. We do have a very good representation from the academia, and of course it is well represented by different types of associations, which do contribute largely from the ground. From a different point of view, it's quite important to see the voices of the communities, which can be referred by green building councils representations from each and every from many European countries, which is very interesting because since our objectives and challenges are common, the ways to address and find practical implementations are different and really are defined by the local particularities of the country itself. So yes, we do see the general picture, but at the same time, we do try to find the way to have everyone heard and to be able to pass their messages to the Commission, who would see how the funds and the attention in research and innovation is distributed.
Thanks. That was helpful, and indeed, collaboration we are seeing is key. Let's keep digging a bit deeper into collaboration. There's another question in the chat along these lines, which I think is really interesting. Indeed, what are other practical challenges in the long term to implementing circularity at national level? Now we are seeing the need for multi-level governance, right? So we have the national level and the regional level. We have municipalities who can implement spatial planning measures, and then we have the practitioners who are the ones who actually learn how to deal with the practical issues of using these secondary raw materials, recovering them, and designing using the digital tools. So multi-level governance is really it's really the one key enabler that is going to allow us to get to a circular economy in the built environment. So I'm interested in all of your opinions, Yuri, Yasmin, and Anastasia, which are the barriers to implementation at national level that can then unlock the transformation. Don't know who wants to go first.
Maybe just a short, a bit provocative. Okay, firstly, we do not have good, or not even, we do not have data on material flows. We don't know how much building materials come into the country, go out, are disposed. Of course, there are statistics from Eurostat or National Statistics Office, but they are not representative. So first, we would need to understand these material flows very well. I'm not talking about parts of the percentage, but at least 2/3, 90%, stuff like that. Other is gray economy. No one really talks about it, but also in EU, it's not just in the south, but also all across. There's significant part of economy is gray economy, and especially construction sector, which we are dealing now here, is yes, let's say very sensitive to gray economy, but it's there. But none of the countries are actually doing very strong to get some taxes out of it. And these taxes, these circular solutions could be financed. Thank you.
Yeah, I can say how practically it might be done and is being done. It can be done with some representative organization at the national level. For example, the collaboration with the national technology platforms, which allows to establish a wide network in each member state and evolve collaboration between these networks. And basically, it corresponds to a group of stakeholders which allow to collect the knowledge from the ground and knowledge like practical research ground and particularities for each and every country. So this is thanks to these organizations like different national technology platforms, which is easier to establish our joint position in Europe. So it also allows to take an active role in identifying new research priorities on the European level based on the input from national technology platforms. And I quote just national technology platform is probably the most representative example, but different type of transversal collaboration is the key to answer this question.
Thank you, Anastasia. That I think it was a really key aspect. So let's stress for everyone again the need for multi-level governance, also beyond national governance, and so cross-country governance. We have this opportunity in Europe. If a national government is looking for a solution, they might be looking out to other countries who are exploring and experimenting with similar issues, and there are several European networks and platforms that can be tapped into for these reasons. So look for your representatives, look for your networks, look for your platforms, get engaged, and please try to broaden your partnerships and your collaboration opportunities, because there is so much happening around there, as we can see today. Yasmina, do you want to speak about the challenges at national level and elaborate on the specifics of Slovenia in collaborating within and with other countries? Thanks.
Yeah, with pleasure. Yeah, well, what we see is that this sustainable construction does not have an owner, so a body which would somehow push this topic, and this was very much seen when we were working on this portfolio of actions. And looking at the actions, you will see that there is different sectors who are so to say responsible for specific measures. So we are at the moment seeing a challenge of how this portfolio of actions, which are diverse in scope and in their owners, how they will be put into practice. And we very much hope that we will find some kind of a governance model which would then really ensure that these that the portfolio is put into practice as a whole. So that then these interlinkages between the measures do not fall in specific silos. So currently, I mean, we are exploring more options on how exactly this is to be done, but definitely the intention is of keeping this portfolio together also once it is put into practice. And I think that this will somehow also give a push, because we have now somehow I mean, we have been very loud in Slovenia with this portfolio, and we have been talking with industry, with chamber of architects, civil engineers. I mean, we have this platform of experts, of individual experts for sustainable construction and renovation. So we have been talking really to great variety of experts and of society as such. So we somehow hope that with this specific governance structure for sustainable construction, we will be able to give a push to the topic as such.
Very curious about what Anastasia and Yura have to say about the question of ownership, or anything else you would like to contribute at this time.
Anything else? Yes, I will say a little thing about how one might find a possible way of bringing people together, people in terms of organizations. One of the possible ways is clustering. When the construction-oriented companies, circularity vision, with the vision of imagining, reimagining sustainable living, when they gather together to a group of a cluster who work together in order to foster the multidisciplinary sustainable innovation in the built environment sector. So these clusters might include the players from different complementary domains from the whole value chain, and it's very enriching for all of them to work together because they can go beyond their sectors, they can go beyond their borders. Let's say the Slovenian cluster might be working with the Finnish cluster, so it's not just geographical borders, but they all are oriented to work together to contribute to this general sustainability, construction, innovation, development, and they mature all together by enriching each other. So this holistic approach is really helpful. And for example, in our partnership, we do have the work oriented to supporting the cluster in their maturity, and like together is better to do things, particularly if we all have complementary things to add into this grouping. And I would say that in the case of Slovenia, the clusters in Slovenia are very, very inspired, very active, and I personally see a very big future for its quick and successful development.
Yeah, maybe for me a closing remark. I'm really happy to be part of EU and to be able to take part in Horizon projects, which is strategic research and development, because I think this is globally the best way of international transsectoral and transdisciplinary cooperation, because we can bring together anyone to solve challenges. So to put it in practice, circularity of built environment is not a technical challenge. Of course, there are many scientific findings, technology rollout, and so on still needed. But on the end, it's social science and humanities that need to be they need to take part. That's why I'm really happy to have this Build for People partnership, which is trying to do this, and we see it also in new proposals or new calls. This is coming together, but I think we need even more focus, because we engineers are a bit special. We like to deal with things, not with people. So yeah, that's why we need transsectoral, transdisciplinary cooperation, and EU is facilitating this.
Nice. The good sunny note to end with. We have 4 minutes left. What we have heard so far is the need for more implementation practice that result in learning on the ground. So good practices that really serve as the bottlenecks. The need for the digital industry in terms of both a market and data has to be accelerated with strong collaboration at national levels, so that we can use the secondary raw materials that are present but are not being tracked. We definitely will need a wide spectrum educational program which equips students, industry, public servants, and investors with the skills regarding this transition. We have to strengthen the role of public procurement and the enabling conditions for its implementation as key enabling tool for the private sector to follow. And well, we just need more collaboration, but we also have the channels and the platforms available for it. And it seems that collaborating does unlock several aspects that we cannot solve on our own. We always learn so much from each other when we look at the problem together. I'm sad that my speakers have gone from the screen. There is 2 minutes for them to still say a few words of thank you and goodbye if they wish. Otherwise, because I think that's the way the format works. We hope you have enjoyed this session. We're closing on time, which is something that everyone can appreciate. Here we go. Nice. I prefer it this way. Please come see more of the work of Climate Kick in Slovenia, the Slovenian ministry, and Built for People by engaging throughout our channels. I'm sure you all know where to find us. So thank you so much from the four of us.
Thank you, Mira. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you.